மறக்காம சர்ப்ரைஸ் பண்ணுங்க. Thank you.
Welcome back, guys. In this video, I want to show one of my favorite traps in London, and it's one of the most common traps that I've seen. Now, if you've watched my lecture on the St. Louis Chess Club, you've seen this before, so I'll try and add some new flavor to this. And I have included a new game which features this trap between two names which are very difficult to pronounce. Win playing white against Divershi. From the World Rapid Championships in 2017. Now, in this position, Black has just played b6, which is a very seemingly solid line, given that Black aims to play bishop b7 and usually have nice control over the long diagonal. And it's very common for White to perhaps continue normally, like c3, bishop t3, knight bd2. But in this specific position, White has a nice line to go for, which is pretty unique for this specific variation. So to play knight bd2 first, then after the very natural bishop to b7, White can then play knight to c4. And knight c4 is a very powerful move because it not only aims to target this d6 square, which is also attacked by the bishop, but in some cases, Knight can transfer to e5, where it's a very powerful piece in the center. So going forward from here, the most common move that Black will play here is pawn d5, aiming to attack the knight and control d6. But then after knight e5, Black is actually in a lot of trouble here, because White has two pretty venomous threats involving both bishop to b5 and knight g5. And it turns out that Black is going to have a pretty hard time defending against both threats. Now, there's been many games, and I've shown this in the previous lecture, where Black plays some move like a6 or c4, just for example, c4, and then just completely walks into knight g5. f7 can't be defended, and White is on the way to just a huge advantage in this position. So there's a few kind of expected moves that Black can play. For this game, we'll look at knight bd7. And this is actually the tactical moment to best execute the combination as White, because you should be aware that bishop b5 and knight g5, they're both ideas, but it's about making the execution work in this position. And to make things work out, you need to combine both of these ideas. If you play knight g5 immediately, this is not good enough, simply because knight take e5, and then after pawn take e5, Black is doing very fine here. So it's very important to start with bishop b5. And this has actually two threats behind it. White is threatening the very direct knight take d7, and then followed by knight e5. So, for example, if Black just gets ready to castle, he's not quite in time after take, knight e5, and now there's serious pressure against the pinned knight on d7, and after a move like bishop c8, the only way to defend the knight, White now can trap the queen with a very beautiful knight c6. I've actually had this position in a game once. It was pretty sweet. So going back to this position, actually one move earlier, after bishop to b5, Black has to deal with the threat, and probably the most logical move is to play a6, where now the question is put to the bishop. It can't really retreat because of b5, doesn't want to take on b7 because knight take d7, and Black would be doing fine. So at this moment, after a6, it's really important to play the most precise move of White, and that move is knight to g5, which does sacrifice the bishop, but will win the exchange after knight take f7. So for example, a take b5 is really the only move Black can go for in this position. And I do apologize, I drew the arrow for that knight, but the best knight to take with is actually the e knight. For a couple reasons, but mainly because you want this knight attacking e6, and in some cases you want to attack h7 as well. So let's just walk through how this game continued. Black has to move the queen, played queen e7, and now White has another decision to make. Should you play knight d6 and go after this bishop, or should you take the rook? The strongest move is just to take the rook. It's more material, And it might look a bit complicated here because the knight does appear to perhaps potentially be trapped on h8, but in no line does the knight get trapped if white plays accurately. And if we notice, white just wants to move back. And I mean, if white is given a free move here, knight hf7 will be played with the ideas of knight d6 check or knight e5. So so in this position, black was inclined to try and muddy the waters, play this move pawn e5, going for some sort of complications. But after the very simple d take e5, knight take e5, white now has the move. And there's actually a very nice tactical continuation for white. If we notice, this knight on e5 is a target, the king is also a target on e8, and given these two targets, there is a nice combination white can play here. So I would encourage you to, if you don't see it, pause your video and find the best continuation for white. Okay, and the move is knight take h7, which is pretty devastating for black. It looks greedy at first, but there's a pretty simple idea given if knight take h7, queen h5 comes with the triple fork attacking the king and both knights, and white is winning back more than enough material. So going back to the game, after knight take h7, it was a pretty simple matter of just simplifying the position. Black castled queenside, and then knight take f8, rook take f8, bishop take e5, and the tactics are still present in this position. If queen take e5, there's knight g6 with the fork winning even more material. So rook take h8 was played, and then after bishop take f6, queen take f6, white is up very healthy exchange and a couple pawns, and then it was just a formality until white forced resignation after g4. Nice move to finish things off, because if queen takes g4, probably just queen take e6. So this is a great example of how like good opening preparation and just a venomous trap from early on, maybe a not so well known trap, can lead to a pretty smooth victory. I do want to go back and just clarify maybe one more point from early on. If we go back to this position before knight d7, there is only really one good move for black to play in this position, and that move is bishop to d6, where the idea is black just wants to castle, so it basically prepares against knight g5, which could be met with castling, and then black would be okay. And otherwise, if white plays bishop to b5, which is the best move, black can then play a move like king e7. And I know it looks ugly for black, but this is probably the best try. And okay, white has a pleasant position, but it will still be a fight from here. And we will see another example in this line earlier featuring yet another tactic. So hope you guys can gain some inspiration from this. And it's yet another example of a London opening which starts out pretty normally for the first few moves, but then we see some interesting deviation. In this case, this knight c4 move, which you don't see every day, but it all kind of is based on black structure and how to best target black structure to put the maximum amount of pressure on your opponent. So hope you guys enjoyed that, and I'll see you in the next lesson.
மறக்காம சர்ப்ரைஸ் பண்ணுங்க. Thank you.